committee meeting for Monday, September 15th, 2025. And the first committee is Finance. Mr. Mutavero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to call the Finance Committee to order. And the first item is Grant Award FY 2022 Cybersecurity Grant Program. I don't see Mr. Carter, so I will ask Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a grant that we received before the state of $50,000 that we used for training and equipment for our ongoing cyber security upgrades and prevention. Any specifics that you'd want to know on that grant as we go into executive session so that we're not discussing those protocols in public session. But it's just to repeat of a grant before that we've accepted. So.
Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to move this item forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the review of 2023 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. A public hearing was held on August 11th. Ms. Carver, right here.
That's for you.
Thank you. The Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, the Emergency Solutions Grant, known as ESG, and the Home Investment Partnership Programs require participating jurisdictions to submit a consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, also known as the CAPER. At the close of each program year, the 2023 CAPER provides a summary of accomplishments related to the projects and programs outlined in the 2023-2024 Annual Action Plan, funded through the CDBG, ESG, and Home programs. The 15-day public comment period ran from July 22nd through August 5th, followed by a public hearing, which was held on August 11th, 2025. The Department of Development asked that the City Council accept this report via resolution for the 2023 CAPER.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to move this item forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any other business before finance? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order public service and utilities. We have one item on the agenda tonight. It's the Watt Street sewage pipeline. Mr. Williams, please.
Thank you. I don't know if everyone remembers, but earlier this year there was a request from one of the residents on the street and the pathway forward to that neighborhood, just requesting connection to the main sewage line, needing to first understand the price, potential cost of an effort such as that. So before we could move forward, we need to have a petition, and the petition needs to represent the majority of the individuals this would represent. As of now, we have 6 residents. There's 7, one of them already did the work, but it seems as though this neighborhood will request to at least get a potential bid to understand what the amount would look like. I know as the city looks at larger concerns on a municipality level, I think it's our responsibility as a city to at least hear out and see what is even an option for them. I think regardless of what amount the city, if any, would be able to consider, I think we have to at least just understand the total cost of a project of this nature.
Any questions? Oh, I have one. So, Mr. LaFont is here, and I know you might be well versed on that. Can I ask you to give us a kind of synopsis of how this might move forward, please?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't prepared, but I'll try to do my best.
Thank you.
I did speak to Chris Waller on the project. Since the petition was handed in, the petition has to be validated now to determine the owners of the property versus who signed the petitions. I don't know if that's clerk or law would validate that petition. Once that petition is validated, then the engineering department and myself can move forward to get a cost estimate of the project. But the process would be to validate the petition first and then move on from there.
Thank you. Any questions to any of that?
Madam Chair, just to ask, does the sponsor intend to put this into the capital budget for next year? Because that's where the expenses will be regarding that. I mean, presumably it won't take that long to validate the petitions, and I'm just thinking that it's a capital project that will need to be put part of the capital budget.
It would, after it's validated, it would have to be designed, then go out to competitive bidding. I don't know if it would be done this year for next year, or if it would be 26 for 27. Because then, depending on the financing, if it's going to be done like sidewalks, there's a special assessment to those properties that have to be paid back in 10 years, I believe it is. So
For sanitary sewers, it's a longer period of time.
longer, 30.
It's actually for sanitary sewers, it's actually a period over, not over 40 years. It can be a shorter, but the max is 40. It's a longer period of time.
So it would have to be fast-tracked, but obviously, once the petition is validated, then a consultant would get on board, do an estimate, there would be a cost for that, that design, and then you go into a final design, and then competitive bidding.
Thank you, Mr. LaFawn. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Yeah. Oh, yes, go ahead.
So I'd say no intent to further strain like the budgetary conversations that we're going to be having soon. But I think just wanting to, this was initially discussed in February, and it took a while to get people signed, understanding, and then on the right petition. So I think they just want to get an understanding of what that cost would potentially look like. No intentions from me this year.
Okay, we'll validate the petition, and we, legal, will review the petition and then forward it on to the water and sewer departments and engineering.
Thank you, Mr. LaFawn. Thank you, Mr. Williams, for bringing this back up. Not seeing any other questions or discussions, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Second. I second it. All in favor? Thank you. Aye.
I'd like to call to order government operations. We have one item on the agenda, that is the City Housing Stability Task Force. President Porterfield.
Thank you. So I wanted to put this back on the agenda. We all know that it started with Mr. Councilmember Mancini, former Councilmember Mancini, but we can't just let it lie because it did get voted through as an action that we were going to take. And so at this point in time, we have to really have a discussion to find out essentially who's going to take the lead on this and how we move forward. I know that Mr. Mancini gave us some initial things that he was looking at, but I think that's just about as far as it got, which all of us received. So at this point in time, I'm opening it up for discussion how we move forward on this initiative. Yes, Ms. Patrick?
If no one else wants to take the leadership, I'd be happy to chair it moving forward. So I don't know what if other folks have discussion or want to do that.
Is anybody else vying for the position? I think you have it.
So just a couple questions before. There's some sort of an application here, the member's application on the back here. My apologies if I missed the last meeting and this was creative. So I just want to recap a bit. This was discussed by the council and agreed by the council to move forward with this two-page application. And the application must be submitted to our city clerk. And then for us to consider the applicants and make the necessary appointment to this task force. Did I summarize that?
Well, there's actually one thing on there. We did talk about taking out developers, and I think it was agreed that we would take developers out as individuals who would be on the committee. So that I see that still remains on the application.
But in the original resolution that was passed, we did mention developer. Do we have to amend that resolution?
So,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I can comment to that. The follow-on resolution that was passed a couple of weeks ago dealt with the issue of what the requirements were going to be for the public members. There was a quite detailed committee meeting on that, and the resolution that was adopted by the council indicated who the members were going to be, so that, just to move to Aaron's point, that was already dealt with the follow-on legislation. The follow-on legislation also indicated that the application would be in the clerk's office for those individuals who wish to apply. Now, that resolution was passed unanimously. It was not signed by the mayor, but by operation of the charter, it becomes operational 10 days after it's passed by the city council, which the 10 days was on September 5th. The follow-on legislation says that the first meeting of this group is to be on within 30 days. That would make it October 5th. So those, based on what the council has passed, that's the framework you're looking at. So right now, I don't know whether the clerk has received any applications from members or not.
I haven't.
Okay.
So, because we're getting sort of a late start, are we able to make any changes whatsoever to, for example, having the first meeting by October 5th?
Well, I mean, because you're going to have to do another resolution, because the prior resolution said within 30 days of its adoption,
Gotcha.
which would have been September 5th, and October 5th would be the 30 days. So it was clear that it would be 30 days after the adoption, so therefore that would have to be extended out.
And the reason why we were trying to make sure that this happened within a reasonable amount of time is that because the concern for myself and other council members, but I'll definitely speak for myself on this, was that I felt that some of this was an effort to kind of pause the difficult conversation that we need to have. So being that Mr. Mancini is no longer serving in his capacity as city council, I know Mr. Mudavarian was his co-sponsor on that. I know Ms. Patrick is expressing interest in kind of stepping up and chairing that. I would just, either way that this goes, I would just really encourage us to try to stay as close to that, timeline as we can, just because that was what feedback that we were getting at the rail, and it was definitely a concern of mine as well.
Thank you. I know we had at least 2 or 3 individuals who expressed an interest on our website or wrote a letter to you saying.
The website.
They did email. There's no application completed yet.
Okay. Sure.
Well, I'm not really sure that we've actually, except for the fact that our meetings are public, I don't think that we've actually gone out and advertised that the application was, I don't think we've really talked about this in terms of looking for people that would sit on would submit applications. So, we'd have to do that and have a first, then select the people that were going to be on the task force, and then have a first meeting. So that's why I'm questioning the October 5th, but I guess we could.
I didn't see it. Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, I would believe that...
I'm sorry, Miss. I said, I wasn't sure if you're done. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
that you could meet the statutory criteria, just hold a meeting on October 5th. The group hasn't gotten together. There aren't bylaws. There aren't determination of a quorum. The meeting on October 5th would be more ceremonial, and as you get applications in or other things in the short period of time after, complete the membership.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, just to follow up on that. The thing is that the resolution calls that the appointment of the members is done by the council.
Right.
So, but that they would have to review and get, yes, you can make that deadline if you have a special meeting at some point, and make that, have that first meeting. So, yes, you can have that, but the council is the appointing authority for the members.
Mr. Mayor,
One member could be just the chair. Doesn't have members convene and adjourn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
If you only had one member, the chair, as a council member, you could convene. If there are no members, adjourn it. You've met the deadline of October 5th, and then put the other ones in.
So my point was to not to have a ceremonial or anything to do performative. In fact, that would be really feeding into what a lot of my concerns and others' concerns are with the validity of this task force to begin with.
So I don't want to do anything that's going to be performative. I do, however, at the same time, want to respect the urgency of people who are housing unstable in the city of Schenectady. So those are the two tensions that we have to balance here. President Porterfield?
Well, actually, you said some of what I want to say, that we shouldn't make it performative. People already had those concerns that this was just another way to block something that some found distasteful and that they didn't want to really take on. So I don't want us to do that. And I don't know, Ms. Patrick, thank you for stepping up. I don't know how we do this in short order, but I recommend that we try to do something and do something that's significant. I don't want to keep pushing it further down the road. We did that already. So then there was an agreement that there would be a task force, so we need to be about the business of getting a task force up and moving and people engaged.
And maybe if we reach out to Mr. Mancini to see like what progress has happened before he, maybe did some things that we're unaware of. Because if not, then it means that nothing has really happened since our meeting.
No, some things, there have been people that have stated it. There have been people who sent in emails that said, I'm interested. I think that even in our conversations, we actually identified a group or two that might be interested. So there are people who have expressed interest, even though we have not actually done the formal application process. So that is a place to begin to, once we make sure this application is what it is, but it's going to be what we have in front of us. But I do want to say, as we discussed developers, what we said, I know that you weren't here, Mr. Mudavarian, was that we would use them in the capacity of more like an advisor and give us information as opposed to sitting on there, because developers had a kind of a different, their job is to develop. It's not necessarily about renting and all of those things. So that conversation did take place, and that we would do something different with the developers, though there would be an opportunity for their input.
And that was, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
So if that's the case, then we will have to amend the original resolution.
That was, I believe that was in the subsequent resolution.
That was in the subsequent? Okay.
That it was going to be, that information, just like any individuals from the public, was going to be solicited. But the council was clear in that meeting that there would be no members of, developers as actual members of the committee itself, but that it would solicit information from the developers.
Yes.
So I remember we were talking about developers and also area advocacy groups, things of that nature. What was clear is that you have to live in the city of Schenectady. However, you can contribute by giving information, attending meetings. Seems like in order for this to pan out, we're going to need all the help we can get to support for it to even take place at all. So definitely welcome that level of engagement. But the thing I want to highlight is that we just make sure that everyone serving on this board is people that live in the city of Schenectady.
And Mr. Chairman, the resolution said that all 9 members are to be citizens. So that's in the follow-on legislation. Ms. Patrick?
I just want to point out that October 5th is a Sunday. So the meeting, either have to be the 3rd or the 6th, and we can't do the 6th, is what you're saying, unless we make an amendment.
The meeting was going to be on?
No later than.
No later.
No later than October 5th.
Okay,
But I mean, that's coming right up. I mean, we've got a lot to do before October 5th.
No later than. Mr. Chairman, you can do a resolution appointing Councilmember Patrick as the chairperson, and that other members are to be solicited pursuant to the previous resolution, and that as those applications come in, they'll be shared with the members of the council.
In the subsequent resolution, was Mr. Mancini identified as the chair, or was it just?
No, it was not. He was not, because he did not vote. He was off the council at that meeting. That was 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so then, do we need to have another resolution?
I mean, no, it was a resolution. The council, the issue is that the resolution says that the council appoints the chairperson. So yes, council has to appoint. So it can be a short resolution just to get the chairperson. Because I think everybody was anticipating that we'd have a full committee by that time.
So it's in our packet, dated, it looks like July 24th, that and it states that, and be it resolved that the Housing Stability Task Force is established, shall be comprised of 9 volunteer stakeholders, including 1 member of the City Council, who shall be the chair of the task force. So do we still need to go ahead to formally have a resolution that it's Ms. Patrick?
Yes, because it was the way the resolution, I know that you, but the resolution clearly said that this was a council appointment, so and I don't think, like I said, I think everybody anticipated it to be a full complement, but there isn't, but just at least get that part done, and because that's what you all agreed to, that it will be appointed by all of you.
Ms. Patrick?
Because I also do want to say that, except for the fact that this resolution calls for a member of City Council to be the chair, it seems as though it would be also interesting if somebody from the development team was the chair. But that's not what this resolution says, so that's why, in considering this over the weekend, I realized that it has to be somebody on City Council.
Right,
Yes.
and it was, as the follow-on resolution stated that as well.
Yes.
Mr. Mudaveri?
So since we're running a tight schedule here, can we move ahead and publish this application out as early as we can? And for the person who had emailed us, we can send them the application, reply to the email, send them this application so they can complete it and return it to your office, Ms. Michael?
We were waiting for Mr. Mancini to update the application and send it to me, but he never did.
Okay.
Well, because there were changes that we wanted to make. Do you remember what those changes?
I'll have to look back and send them to you.
Okay. So is that something, so do we need to,
Like I said,
No, you don't have to do another resolution because the follow-on resolution said there was supposed to be an application, and that, so you don't have to do that, but you just have to do the count for the chair.
okay, so the only action that needs to happen now is that entertain a motion to make Ms. Patrick the chair, okay?
For the task force.
Of the task force, okay, so I would certainly entertain a motion to name Councilmember Patrick the chair of the City Housing Stability Task Force.
I'll make it. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Just a follow-up question on this. So, can we, Ms. Michael, you said that how you're gonna, you don't have the information in terms of what was asked to be changed on
I'll
this
have to
application?
look back at the previous notes.
Yeah, we'll work with the city clerk's office and get that, and see if we can get that squared away so that that can be posted.
The application?
Yes,
Can you email it to the council before you post it?
yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Please, thank you.
we just,
I'm sorry. See, you guys want okay.
well, no, I just want to say if we're doing that, we have to make sure that everybody on the council turns it right around, because
Yes.
it's definitely a short timeline on getting to that first meeting.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
Yep, so then I say to Ms. Patrick's point, should we identify a special meeting ahead of time? Is there a timeline where we can even appoint?
Yeah, let's look at
Is that Friday?
Well, the next council committee meeting is, not until October 6th,
That's right.
which is after that deadline.
So we have that 5th Monday, 29th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, we could, I see what you're saying, yes, we could have a meeting on the 29th to select the
Yes.
committee
When are we
members.
going to appoint them? We don't have-
They'd have to have the applications
Right.
in, like,
They
in a
have to,
week.
right.
We have 2 weeks, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
He's trying to go around, so we have 2 weeks to deal with there.
Hold on. Go ahead, President Whitford.
So we made the motion, but, so now we're having discussion. But will we have, you do discussion. But anyway, will we have 9 members by the 29th?
Well,
Becomes a
8
question.
actually, because it's me and 8 members, or a city council person and 8 members.
Well, we have 8 members by now.
Yeah, that's what I know, that's why I'm saying we have to.
That's a tight time frame. Because you don't, excuse me, but you don't just want to have 8 and just choose the 8, because you really want a variety of people from different, with tenants, and landlords and other groups. It gives like nonprofits. So we definitely want a diverse group of people and not just like 8 tenants show or 8 landlords coming. You know, we don't want that.
And I think we all have to agree on, we have to, we all have to have a vote on the individual, correct?
Yes.
So at this point, why don't we, I know you want to move things along, but why don't we just have a ceremonial thing with Carmel, if she can have that, but still be working on these applications, so we get our meeting in by the 5th. Otherwise,
Well, the issue is if I'm understanding correctly, isn't just the meeting. I believe the language says that we will have the board selected, correct?
The idea was the board would be selected prior to the 5th of October. And that, because of this tight head, that they would have to have had their first meeting by that date. They would have been appointed, so ideally it would have been this committee cycle, but I guess everybody would have been appointed, and then at least have a couple of weeks for their first meeting. So, what you can do is move, I'm just suggesting that you move it out a couple of weeks from the 5th in light of the fact that where the cycle is right now, just move out the deadline and have a certain date no later than a certain mid-October date. That'll at least get you through the meeting in that, and during all this time, the applications would be coming in, and presumably every first committee meeting in October, you would have some applications to go through. So you could probably put it into mid-October.
Mr. Williams, I would say we're not going to respond to the spirit in which this conversation was initiated in the city, and if we're not going to remain on brand to the spirit in which this was rushed through, I would ask that we just disband it, because sincerely, to me, as an individual on this table, but I can only imagine to the individuals that are on either side of this conversation, it sends a very poor message that we are going to choose when and where to actually provide action. And I keep thinking of the one comment of, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, we should at least try, and before we adjourn this committee, we should at least have a date in mind. And I think understanding that we are coming onto a very, very challenging budget season where there's going to be a lot of minutes logged in this office, I think housing insecurities in the city is one of the things we need to be responsive towards and make the time to if we are doing the jobs. And so without even looking at my calendar, I will make the time to be here. No, we don't have any formal applications submitted, but in confidence to people who have made the intention of requesting to be on this committee, I would have to respect that if they were given this application, they would respond back in kind. And if not, then we need to all be responsible for doing our part. That includes the newspaper, Ted. That includes the mayor's notice. Everything that we are doing around this table matters, or do we have any intentionality to truly addressing this issue? That's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I definitely share your same thoughts around, the way that this came about. There's serious questions around what the real intent of this was. And now seeing that one of our council members is no longer serving in that capacity, so the entire thing isn't moving forward, is again, that just reinforces what the original concerns were. I would think that, what we could do is at least attempt to honor what we said we were going to do. And then I also think that if we as council members can't get out into our community and find people who are interested in serving in that capacity after we had packed houses down at our larger council meetings, then the problem really isn't the people, because they're there. So we just need to go get them and speak with them, and appoint people that are interested that meet the criteria. And if we don't have our full capacity, which I think is doable, if not, then we can cross that bridge when we get to it. Mr. Mudaber.
Yeah, so I suggested September 29th, which is the 5th Monday, so we can schedule a special city council meeting to review and vote on the applications. And then Ms. Patrick can set up a meeting, the first meeting on October the 3rd. So all of that can coincide with our meeting, review and approve the applicants, and then Ms. Patrick move forward with her first meeting that Friday. Yeah, sorry.
Or we can try
Yes.
to
Or,
make a
you
new
know,
resolution that
I think that's fair.
says
And 2 weeks
October,
out, I think,
October, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you.
No,
I think 2 weeks, 2 weeks out is kind of reasonable to review the applications. I mean, I know might not be enough, but I think we're crunching time here. So I think 2 weeks should be reasonable for us to review, get back, meet, and discuss and move forward with these 8 applicants.
Mr. Patrick and then President Porter.
I mean, I think it's very reasonable for us to put out an application, ask for those to come back, and be able to have a special city council meeting on September 29th to select the people that will be on the task force. What I'm questioning is then whether we can actually squeeze in the first meeting, which would have to be probably October 3rd. And that's where I think that...
It's just a first meeting. How much detail you want to go into that, but the idea was that you would have the first meeting and then start moving forward with the 120 days, I think it was, before after that. So if you're going to have a special meeting on the 29th to deal with the appointments, then you might as well do the resolution all at one time for Councilmember Patrick to be the chair at that time, and then see, go through the applications and do it then, and they'll have the deadline would still be the 5th, and whenever there'll be a chair, call the chair when the meeting is, and what the agenda would be.
So my question was going to be, did we need to do the resolution first? And your answer right now is no, we don't need to do
No,
that.
in light of how everything is working out here, since you're looking at the 29th as a special meeting, and that is your intention to appoint the committee at that point, then we can forego any resolution at this time appointing Councilmember Patrick, and that can wait till the 29th.
Mr. Mugler?
Oh, so if you're looking at that date for the special force meeting for the task force, Friday, October the 3rd, we have enough time to prepare notices out to the public for the special meeting on the 29th. And also, if we decide to have the first meeting for the task force on October 3rd, we are able to put that together and put those notices out. It's 3 weeks out, looking at the first meeting date, if that's what we can agree on. And I think it's doable.
See, now we're talking, team. Now we're cooking with gas.
So, I think the timeline is very tight, but I think we can push and get it done.
And Ms. Porter?
And I think we really should do that because we gave ourselves a timeline, and the fact that we didn't make it is, well, it's not the people's fault who are interested in us having this task force. I'll put it that way. So I just want to be clear, Mr. O'Brien, we just moved this resolution to...
That's all, you can hold it. You
Okay.
withdraw it or
So-
at this point.
My question is that you also said within that resolution we needed to state something more? Did we-
No, that was only if you were going to move the date, but you're not moving the date.
Okay,
The
okay.
first meeting, you're not moving the date, so therefore, have just this special meeting to deal with the membership of the task force at that meeting.
All right,
Ms. Patrick.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that everyone at this table is available on September 29th to meet. It is a Monday. It was a fifth Monday, so
Mine is open.
as long as we have a majority, but,
As long as at least 4
Okay.
people, I think we all could probably, but I speak for myself, I would be able to be there as well.
Carl?
Yep.
Okay.
What time? You want to do later? I may have to do it a little later. Not the 5:30 regular meeting.
What were you saying? I'm sorry. Mr. Turner?
Let me just get some.
She's trying to look.
Trying to see if
So
she
that's
can
what I'm
make
trying to
Sure.
push it a little
Yeah,
later
yeah.
rather than the regular 5:30. We can push it to 6:30.
Let's be clear, Mr. O'Brien, if it's a special meeting, we don't have to stick to the 5:30. We can call it a
Yeah,
different time.
anytime you
Okay.
want. You can
Okay.
make it 6:30, whatever.
I should be back by 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Do you want to make it 7 to be comfortable?
Do you want to
Yeah.
do it 7 and be more safe?
Yeah, seven.
Okay, that works for me, and I don't need to make an action to withdraw the
Now,
resolution.
the council president will declare the special meeting along with the city clerk
Okay.
Okay.
for the one item.
For the one item.
All right, and again, this is, the urgency around this is that the material conditions of the people that are living in the city now, this is something that we need to move on. So it's not just rush to be rushing, there's serious consequences to us delaying and pushing things down, so. Okay, so now I think I need
Mr. Chairman,
Sure, sir.
should we announce it that you're calling for a special city council meeting?
And city council president and with the clerk
Do
does that.
that. And then also, do we need to also set the meeting for the Friday? Or can we agree on that date? October 3rd? Be the first meeting of the task force? That also has to be done by special,
No, that's done by the chair
the chair.
of the
Yeah, she'll call
task
it.
force.
That's
At the call of the.
I will,
okay.
if I
No, I
may,
just want to clarify because I don't want, we leave the table and then we kind of like fall apart with our timeline.
okay, so
All
September
right,
20th.
clear.
Okay, all right. Any other?
How many days do you need? 3.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Turner. Yes, sorry.
From the
Yeah.
time on the 29th until the next, if we decide on everything the 29th, do you have enough time to put the special meeting
Yes, 3
notice out
days.
for the 3rd?
Ms. Patrick.
Well, I will say that, let's, again, if everybody's in agreement, we'll have that first meeting on October 3rd. So I'll work with Ms. Maiku to make sure that, and I guess on October 3rd, we still should do it probably at like 5:30, 5 or 5:30. Because people might be working, we have no idea who we're picking, but I'm just saying, So if everybody could put that on their calendar as well, if you want to come to that special task force meeting. Okay? And Sam, you think we can figure this out together? I'll talk to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like we're starting to get the ball rolling here. Way to go, team. Any other questions, concerns, comments, noxious remarks around this?
And when will that be adjourned?
Okay,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order city development and planning. And we have 12 items on the agenda. First item is the awarded bid and contract for HVAC for maintenance and repairs. Mr. LaFawn.
The city's purchasing agent put out a bid for the maintenance and repair of HVAC equipment throughout the city's facilities, including police department, fire departments, bureau of service, city hall, all city buildings. 4 bids that were received. They were looked at. One was incomplete, so out of the 3 bids that were received, which you have in front of you is consideration for R&B Mechanical Incorporated to be awarded the bid for the HVAC repair and maintenance. It's broken down because you never know when there is a problem, so it's got to be an hourly rate, after hours rate, holiday rate. But after review of all the numbers, R&B was the lowest responsible bid.
Am I just missing their name on this?
No, you should have a separate sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, when it was printed, the one sheet misprinted, so I did give Ms.
See if it's in your separate sheets. It's not
No,
attached to it.
it's not attached. It's a separate one. I was going to say,
Yes.
because it's not on the one that I'm looking at. So, oh, okay. If it wasn't there, then I can see how we can award it. So, okay. All right.
It's under your agenda.
The
There it
new,
is.
okay, here it is, yeah, okay. So, all right, because the one in the packet didn't have one of those. All right. Are there any questions or concerns?
I'll
I'll take the
move
motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go away. The next item. Item number 2 is discussion of the city garbage sticker. Mr. O'Connell. So if you could just give us an update of where we are, how much revenue has been brought in, how it's looking on the street in terms of people adhering to it, is it causing any situations where garbage is not being picked up because they lack a sticker?
No, garbage is being picked up. There are items when there's no stickers on there. It is a violation because we did give them the grace period to adhere to the new policy that was accepted and approved by the council. Overall, if you look at the pickup for our trash right now, we're down about 9%. So I would attribute that to now that, we are charging for bulk items. There could be a number of reasons that, bulk items are now being put up the curb and being charged for versus we all know that at times bulk items ended up in the city in front of properties because they were being picked up for free. So they're like any program, there's some hurdles, but I think overall it is working. It'll get improved upon, as we move along. People are adhering to it. I think the big question now is the bulk items are looking at reducing some of the waste, but we have never addressed yet, when we've tried, is the actual amount of waste that we pick up and what is the baseline waste. And we've been discussing that for I think 2 years now. And we do know that, we had it named as the jackpots, but we still go out to properties where, average amount of waste could be X. But we're getting there and it's triple and quadruple that because those bags and those cans are coming from places, but they're not necessarily the bulk items. The bulk items are getting stickers, people are coming in, and I can get the number from receipts from the revenue line for you and send it to you tomorrow. I think that is working, but the biggest thing and hurdle we have now is how do we address the excessive amount of waste that some residents are putting out that are costing the city tax dollars. We're paying for that waste, and there shouldn't be 40 and 50 bags at a house. Okay? So again, that is a decision that the council has to make, and where do we set that baseline? How many bags or how many cans of garbage do we take? Or do we continue to just take anything we put on the curb, which is a considerable cost?
So one of the things I was thinking about, we have to, essentially, as I understand it, we're covering our costs with picking this up. So, but the way that it's laid out in the budget, we don't really know what our costs are, or it's not shown separately. Would it make sense for us to show what it costs us to do this, all of that separately, including what amount of money that we're bringing in?
Well, our costs, there's a cost center for waste almost in every department. Law has to look at all the complaints that come in, whether they're tickets, receipts does, yes, the staff and payroll. I mean, even though we have our staff that we're showing us the workforce that's out there in waste, you also have workforce in City Hall that's contributing to those costs. And what you don't see is the 2 mechanics that are pretty much assigned to garbage trucks on a regular basis because they're in the mechanical division. So you got to look at all those other costs that you don't just see in the waste budget. There's time for me, time for the nuisance officer to go out and write these violations. We mail those violations. If they're associated with waste or out early, it's a cost associated with trash. So you'd have to look at every department and figure out what percentage of time is so-and-so putting in to do notice of violations or sending letters out or receipts, taking money in. Like I said, the mechanics. The fuel, there's other costs other than what you see in just the waste budget, which is our disposal costs, our labor, our benefits, but there are other costs associated with it that money has to come in and pay for those costs.
Mr. Farley.
So to your point, Mr. LaFont, I agree that we need to be able to look at that cost. The thing is, we need to have a formula to understand how much it's truly costing us before we start to talk about what a baseline is. I mean, the reality is that we raise taxes, we raise fees, and then we added this sticker, and we can't just keep adding and compiling more expense to people unless we have a real formula as to how we're getting there. So my suggestion would be that's a conversation that definitely needs to be entertained, but we need to have some data in front of us as far as what the actual cost is And then we might want to give what's happening with which I refer to as the sticker program, a little more time to see what revenues coming in before we look back to the tax base.
And also with the revenues, it's really what we're not picking up. That also, because like I said, I think there's some items that aren't being put on the curb coming from other properties because somebody has property in Schenectady, whether it's a relative, and you gotta get rid of the dresser or the mattress, and they bring it to the relative's house because we were in the past picking it up with no cost. I think that's been now reduced because there is a cost, so somebody still has to pay for that. So it's not as attractive to bring it over to a relative's house or a friend's house and put it there for free disposal. Again, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mayor.
Staff has provided the council on several occasions the cost analysis on garbage collection through last year's budget process, even the year before. So you've had that information. You've enacted legislation that is largely unmanageable. So we have the sticker system which we're putting in place, but there's no limit on garbage bags. So if I put this chair out in front of City Hall and have it picked up, I got to put a sticker on it, on the fee schedule. If I put a plastic bag over it, we got to pick it up for free. And that's what's happening. So you've got to make a decision on the number of bags that are out there so that we can manage this, bring it back in line, and have a system that is understandable and people can work with.
So let me just first address something you said in terms of, like, if we separated the garbage out from the rest of the budget, so we're very clear. We separate currently sewer and water, and don't those departments also take other departments to do that particular job by paperwork, the law department, et cetera? Isn't that something that's also factored into that?
Yeah, it's factored in, yes.
So it is conceivable that if it's factored in us to do through sewer and water, we could also do this with garbage as well.
You could, but again, you still have to have a baseline to draw from. Again, as the mayor stated, if you take the chair and you break it up, put it in a bag, we're taking it for free. If you take, a dresser apart, just put it in a bag, we're taking it for free. It hasn't been determined what size bag. So if somebody puts a contractor bag out there, we take the contractor bag. If you look at the way commercial waste is taken, you pay for the can you buy. You have a household of 3 and you buy the 95-gallon can. If you put one bag in it, you're still paying that fee for the year for that can. If you fill it and stuff it with 10 bags, that's your fee. Now, if you got an extra 2 bags, you got to buy that second can. They don't care if you stuff it all the way up, or if you put 1 extra bag in there. There is a base fee, and that's their cost of doing business. Here, we're just, 1 week you got 2 bags, and you go back the next week and there's 32 bags. So, there has to be some type of, quantity of trash that we're picking up for the rate that the taxpayers are paying for. And we have not determined what it would be yet, and we've been trying for 2 years.
Mr. Farley?
And things keep going up. Our disposal rate goes up by CPI every year, and there are fuel inflators on that. And the cost of those equipment, we're buying lease trucks now. We used to buy new packers. We buy lease now, usually 2 a year from Premier. 2 leased trucks now buying used is about $600 and some odd thousand. That goes into our debt service.
So the point that I think we need to talk about, right, is when Ms. LaFond, the first thing that you got to share with us is that our collection is down 9%.
Approximately 9%.
Approximately 9%. So therefore, you're attributing some of that to what's happening with the sticker program. So the point that we're trying to make, Mr. Mayor, is that no, we haven't had this data set yet. We haven't had it because it hasn't been done yet. And what we need to do, I for one feel that we need to allow the sticker program, which quite frankly wasn't a fan of to begin with, but understand why it happened. We need to allow that to play out to see how much revenue is brought in by that, and by what percentage. I mean, this just started. Maybe it goes lower than 9%. And then we don't need to look at burdening people with higher fees again for having more bags. I just don't think the right thing to do is to go from, you can put your entire garage out here
Mr. Mudavar?
Yeah, so when we were discussing this last year, I'm trying to recall Mr. Williams had asked for a cost study. And if I can put some time this year, it was like April or May or something, you were asking Mr. LaFont to come back with a cost study in terms of how we can address this, what are the impact out there, and get some numbers for us in terms of household who are putting out excessive garbage. Was that ever submitted to Mr. Williams?
Not to my record.
Sorry?
Not to my record.
No, okay. So, I mean, that is something that was asked by the council at one of our discussions when we decided to move forward with the bulk item. So I don't know if you want to revive that and ask the request again. But then going back to the 9% down, I mean, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for costs that we're spending less paying. So overall, look at the big picture, 9% down on costs. It's good for the city.
9% down in cost, but the cost of labor is going up, the cost of insurance is going up, the cost of tipping fees are going up. So it's not even offsetting it. I mean, the expenses are going up more than the decrease in volume.
So just after that, was that study ever done?
I thought we put some stuff together because the only we have to look at.
The council gets a monthly summary of both the financial and we do Schenectady by the numbers. So it breaks down the police calls, the fire calls, the other information that's out there, gives you a fairly detailed picture of what's going on in the city and the trends in the city.
I'll just double check. I don't know if this specific one is, we do get that every month, but I'll have to see if that's specifically, a specific information is broken out like that.
Yeah, those are detailed and good report that we receive every month, which we kind of acknowledge that as one of the good things that's happening in terms of using IT and getting all the reports, see where we are in terms of data. But it's going back to the point that the request was made for a specific period of time so that we can look at this and say, okay, you're putting out 10 bags, you're putting out 15 bags, or you're putting out 2 bags. How do we address that?
Right. Mr. Torre, then Mr. Torre. Mr. Torre?
Thank you. So I do know a lot of the men and women on the trucks were asked to at least take data down and to present it to you or to give it to their supervisor who follows. And they told me that it really slowed their process down immensely, but they did take numbers down and tried to relay it for a couple of weeks to their supervisors. So I know that was being done and passed on to us, but it really was extreme for them to mark down more than 10 bags, I believe, was what we kind of put out on the table originally, how many houses had more than 10 bags out there, but it was an extremely daunting task for them. And I think we should probably, if we want more data like that, I mean, put someone out there, weekly collecting the data, not put it off to our
So let me
workforce.
just, so it's not, we, the council, don't decide who collects the data. That's not something that's within our
Right.
purview. That happens within the department, so,
Right.
I have to defer to Mr. LaFawn and how that work gets done.
Right.
So in terms of us being it passed on to us, I've not seen it. So I just want to be clear. They may have said to you that, it's challenging to do it, and I would imagine it was. And my understanding of the process isn't even that it would be the workers that did it, but perhaps a supervisor or a specific person that was able to do it. The nuisance inspector, I don't know. But I didn't understand, nor have I heard, that this task was passed on to the people who actually collect the garbage. So, and again, the data did not get back to us, so. I could say that. Mr. Farley, or was it Mr. Rivera?
No, I was going to ask, when you say us, I am not privy to that
Oh,
report, and I would like to have a copy of it, because that's why I recall the ask from Mr. Williams in terms of how do we address that and how do we move forward. And I think we had a timeline of that April or May of this year, and that didn't happen.
And if I may, it's hard to collect the data because people put their garbage out at different times. Some people put it out the night before. We have nobody out at night. That truck is on that street by about 10 after 6 in the morning. The trucks are scattered throughout a whole district. So for a gentleman or a nuisance officer to go at 6 in the morning and try and go through that route, he can't do it. He would need to start 3 hours early, at 3 in the morning, to get through the route. But then again, it may not be out at the curb, because some people know that the truck is coming around 10, so they're going to put their garbage out around 9 when they leave for work. So it's very hard to look at how people put out their garbage. If they put it out too early, you know, they can't go out before 2 o'clock the day before. So, you know, you can't just go out there at 6 o'clock in the morning and zip through a route and count all the bags. It's not going to happen.
So are you saying that you did ask the people that pick up the garbage to do the counts?
We, as the guys were going through with the trucks, yes, we asked them to try and take note of any, properties that had an excess amount, 10 bags or more. And they did do that for a while. But again, like I said, it's difficult because, it's just the guys in the truck and they're trying to drive the guys in the back. We only have 3 nuisance officers, okay? And for them to go out, like I said, they can't start at 6 when the garbage trucks go out because they're already in the route picking it up.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Great, so I think that clarification is important, and it would have been valuable given when the request was put out there. One of the biggest points that I was making of I didn't want there to be any inconveniences on the loaders and drivers because of how tasking their work is. I've been out there. It is not easy, and it truly takes a certain personality to do that day in and day out. But the response very much from yourself was that nuisance would be taking on this responsibility, and there was no additional caveats about the difficulty associated with it, but I can respect that, hearing it right now. I would say, but I truly want to urge us to dispel with the finger pointing, because sincerely, this is action that we're doing. The 9% is 9%, and I know that it is not a home run, but we are on base as a city, and the conversation always going to transition to the next stage. Sincerely, as someone looking at this from an outside perspective, we could strain the system the opposite way by tasking too much to our very limited staffing and waste. And I know that the confidence was apparent from the mayor's office, but as we recognized, and we do not need to gloss over anything, the rollout of the sticker program singularly was poor. Undebatable. Non-debatable. However, at this current point, you've said that there have been developments, evolutions, and we are at a running start now. We're moving. So now we can, to Mr. Turl's point, transition on to how many bags. But if we are going to make that decision absent any data, regardless of how it was submitted, it is not dissectable to us right now in that current state. How do we make it comprehensible so the people around this table can make an informed decision? Or we just pick an arbitrary number and know that we're just going to have to continue to edit it on the fly?
Is your hand up or just like
Yeah,
waving around the air?
just to be 100% clear, I'm not okay with setting a number that isn't data driven. And with respects to Mr. LaFond, who knows this and demonstrates his capabilities in front of us all the time, and I have nothing but trust and respect for the job that you do, sir, or the people that are out there collecting trash. My thing is, these aren't decisions to be made just to make them. We have a responsibility to say, like the sticker program, which my concern was that it's like we're rolling things out that are turning into a cost for people, and we need to have a clear justification for the cost. And if we don't have that, then we're just saying 7 bags, 10 bags, and then, oh, you got 12 bags, now it's going to be, we're going to give you this fine on top of us already raising taxes, on top of us already raising fees, and on top of us already now assigning this money for stickers. And it doesn't, that's not the way to do this. I wouldn't support that in any way.
So, Mr. LaFond, so I'm going to circle back, and I do think I'm going to advocate that we actually be able to separate the waste in the budget like we do every other, like water and sewer. So I think that then we have a good idea of what that number really is, and we can work through that. So you said that you're working on kind of like trying to get a handle on it and refining it. So what does that look like?
The sticker program, it is working. People are buying stickers. People are putting stickers on. We do have some people that say they were removed by people. I mean, we take the good with the bad. But going back to the bags, there is that out there. And if you really look at it, it's what the commercial rate haulers are charging. I mean, that data is there. There's a reason why they charge X for a certain size can. And if you got more than that can, they charge double. So the data is there. So if you take a 95-gallon can or a 92-gallon can, we don't provide cans. We just have to see how many bags, and I think Councilmember Toro looked at that one time, will fit in that 92-gallon can. So the data is there. It's just being used by the commercial haulers who know how to run the business.
Yes, Mr. Farmer?
Well, I agree that there is some data there, and it could be a lot of data, but we're not operating as a private, commercial trash collector. We're not doing that. So the formula that we use, I would imagine, is going to be more along the lines of efficiency in revenue than it is just revenue driven. Because if that was it, if we were doing that, we could just do what they do and not consider, what that would come. They don't have a responsibility, the same responsibility we do.
But our rates kind of reflect that because we don't charge nowhere near the rate that a commercial hauler hauls.
Which is to my point, is that we're using two different formulas, and we probably should, based on what.
But the rate is the rate. The amount of garbage that is generated. There's got to be a formula out there that a household of X, and some people generate a lot more trash than others. But again, we don't have the same rate structure as a commercial hauler. They're very efficient in the sense that, it's a one-man truck or it's a one-arm truck that goes through the rural areas. Right. So ours is a little different because of the parked cars and what we have to deal with in the city is that we have to have people on the back bringing the cans out, putting it in the truck and bringing the cans back. So it's a little bit considerably more labor intense than a commercial hauler. But yet the commercial hauler is charging considerably more money.
Mr. Toro?
Thank you. Technically, we kind of are a business. We don't want to run at a loss, and we don't want to keep raising taxes, so we want to make sure that everyone's paying their fair rate for trash. We said that we could put, the council could put a number of bags on the trash. We could put 50 on there if we want, all right? I think the average person creates like 4.5 pounds of trash a week. So there are formulas out there about how many the average person creates and what the bags can be. So, that's all things that we need to consider. And we're running at a loss on our trash. The city's paying for us to put trash out. So something really needs to be done. So I'm just putting that out there.
It's pay as you throw. It's the people who are sort of taking advantage of it and putting that many bags out are not paying their fair share. Where, the typical couple with, 3 bags out there, but it's the non-compliant people who are costing the city more money. So how do you put that in perspective and say, if you're going to put out 20 bags, you have to pay for those extra bags?
I could answer that. You do it gradually and informed and data driven and data informed. And I understand that we don't want to operate at a loss, but the difference between us, one of the more glaring differences between us and let's say the private sector is that if someone is paying for something in the private sector and the cost raises too high for them, then they have the ability to say, okay, I don't want to purchase that service at that rate. And they can look at other opportunities for them to do that. In the city of Schenectady, if someone decides not to put their trash out, but leave their trash in their yard and let it pile up, then we'll be going back to them to fine them for that. So therefore, we do have to make sure that there are a lot of considerations and calculations that we have to make that a private sector trash removal business would not have to make.
Yes, Mr. Toro?
Thank you. I just have one question. So someone puts their trash out, because I get this question a lot from individuals, and I've kind of looked into it. And there's they don't have a sticker on there. How long before the nuisance, and someone reports it, how long before the nuisance officer goes, writes it up,
That day.
and then the trash truck comes back to get it?
It's called in that day, and the nuisance officer goes there that day.
Okay.
And if it's late in the afternoon, the truck might be gone.
Right.
Okay? But it's usually picked up that day or the following morning.
Okay, so once the noose is up, so I call trash in tomorrow morning. It wasn't picked up, there's no sticker on it. So the nuisance officer goes that day, takes a photograph, writes out the bill, and then later that day, a courtesy truck will come and get it.
Courtesy will come and get it. We still have to pick up the trash. It can't be just left there. So it's, either that same day or the next day.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Patrick?
Well, I guess, we're going to be starting our budget discussions. My guess is that when we see the budget that will be presented to us, there is obviously a detailed breakdown on our expenses for waste.
There are line items in the budget.
There are line items in the budget that break all this down. And my guess is that, you guys are, in developing your budget, looking at your costs, looking at, what we should be trying to put into the 2026 budget moving forward so that we make sure that we are covering our expenses and at the same time efficiently providing that service to our residents. Is that, I mean, October 1st, I guess it is, that we see the budget, or, soon we'll be seeing the budget, and all of this is broken down in detail.
Find yourself to break down the benefits separately. Our cost centers are all in the budget.
Yeah.
So again, is it conceivable that we could just have that under just like waste and see it all in one place as opposed to different parts of the budget, different departments? It would just be easier.
We have done detailed cost analysis on the garbage collection for the council many times. If you want it done in a different way or done in some other format, we'll look to accommodate you.
It would just be easier, I think, to see it all in one place as we consider this and to talk and entertaining the talks again about bag limits, which in terms of talking about people, our staff, that would be challenging. Like what do you do when you get to 10? I think that would be challenging. But if that's the discussion that we're going to have, that's the discussion we're going to have. But let's also keep in mind when we talk about this that people do pay taxes. So in paying taxes, there's an expectation of certain level of services. So it's not like our costs are increasing, but when we increase taxes, taxpayers' costs are increasing as well. So so that's my recommendation. I would like to see it in that format, if that's at all possible, and that would just certainly, I think, help us be able to have these discussions similarly as you do with sewer and water. I think that would be an easier way to be able to see the revenue versus expenses. And is there anything, any more questions for Mr. LaFawn? Is there anything that you want to tell us more about moving forward in the sticker program? I know that you're going to give us the numbers so far that we've done this year.
I can look at the revenues and send that out tomorrow through receipts or through finance and give you the revenue number that we sold for stickers.
Okay.
It's not going to count the ones that come in and told us they lost them and we gave them.
Well, I think that's a real thing. I actually saw stickers on the ground, so they weren't on furniture. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is letter of intent from New Leaf Energy, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. We have representatives here tonight from New Leaf Energy, and I could give the council a brief synopsis of the program 2 weeks ago. And so, again, this is still subject to negotiation, but would ask that they talk about it conceptually so that people understand what they're looking to. It's a little bit new in terms of the energy market and how the grid is put in place.
So just to be clear, you're not asking for any council to move anything tonight? You just want to hear, we're going to hear from these gentlemen.
Unless that their presentation is just so overwhelmingly motivating that you want to act on it, I won't stop you. But
the purpose of that, Mike, is so that the public can hear you.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. We'll try to hit that standard. My name is Terrence Nolan with New Leaf Energy with my colleague Tyler Krupa. We're both based out of our Troy offices, not far from here. We are a renewable energy development company that focuses on solar, but also battery, now larger scale battery projects. I'm just going to talk a little bit about a proposal that was referenced to a property that is at 300 Anthony Street, the Sewer Authority, where we're interested in leasing a portion of that and bring some lease revenue to the city. I'll describe that, and then my colleague will just talk a little bit more about the batteries themselves. I'll just frame it by saying that NYSERDA, as part of the effort to, under the CLCPA, the climate law that was passed several years ago, has incentivized batteries for upstate New York, essentially incentivizing about 750 megawatts of these distributed generation batteries, and really in places like Schenectady and Troy and Syracuse and other cities where we're looking as a developer at sites that are not near residences where they're appropriate from a grid perspective, an electricity perspective. And when we looked at the property at 300 Anthony Street, there's the area where the physical plant is located, and then sort of off on one side of the property is an open area where I do have an aerial. I don't know if it's appropriate, Madam President, just to pass that around. But the area of interest that we're looking at is sort of the area that is, I'll just point right to it right there, where we would be proposing to lease approximately 25,000 square feet for two 5-megawatt, 4-hour batteries, which we would propose would charge at night and then discharge during the day during peak hours to offset the need for peaker plants to come online and otherwise provide the power during that demand. The proposal is to lease those two areas for $60,000 each. That's the market, in fact, a little bit at the higher end of the market, at a 2.5% annual escalator. So there's the rent terms that we've proposed. It's a long-term lease of 25 years with some renewal periods built into it because of the upfront capital costs. And NYSERDA does incentivize that on our end. So we, depending on the time frame of getting an interconnection agreement and an actual agreement and permits and so forth, we can then access certain incentives down the road. So what we have proposed and put in front of the city is it's a 3-page letter of intent that has been reviewed by council, as noted by the mayor, still in negotiation. I think, and in fact, it's non-binding from the point of view of the business terms. There is a binding aspect to it, which is there's an exclusivity time period in that proposal, which gives us a time period to submit our application to National Grid, and then hear back as to whether or not we can actually physically connect, what the cost of connection would be. I'm just going to stop now and just ask Tyler to jump in a little bit on the technology, and talk a little bit more about the batteries themselves.
Sure, yeah, thanks. I do have a couple of printouts here. I only have 3 of them, but if you want to pass them around, we can also send these electronically as well. But I'm not sure how much people in this room at the council is familiar with battery energy storage. The state has very lofty goals for energy storage as part of the clean energy transition. As Terrence mentioned, the batteries charge when there's low demand and then discharge back onto the grid during periods of high demand. You can kind of think of these like water towers, right? If you're on a water system and everybody opens their tap at the same time, your pressure might be low. If you have a water tower, it might help supplement that need during that time, which is how these batteries work as well. Terrence mentioned, the NYSERDA benefits as well, something that we would look for. And in addition to the city-owned property that the proposal for the lease is for, we're also talking to some private landowners within the city and mostly industrial areas to try to see if we can site some additional projects in those locations. We've had some preliminary discussions with zoning and planning to try to identify a path forward for permitting for these kinds of projects. And once we get a little further in that, when we're ready for applications, we have lots of subject matter experts we can bring in, fire safety, siting, all that kind of stuff to help answer any questions and make the community, comfortable with these kinds of devices, as well as, officials and authorities. The last thing I'll say is that New Leaf Energy has a proven track record of developing these kinds of systems. We developed several of these batteries down in Westchester County. There's a number of them that are in development in New York City right now. New York State actually has some of the most strict fire safety requirements for these kinds of devices, and it's kind of leading the way with the deployment throughout the, across New York State, but compared to the rest of the nation. So we're happy to answer questions you might have, on the proposal or on this technology in general. But we want to work with the city on the best places for these kinds of devices in kind of medium-sized cities like Schenectady.
Thank you. You kind of touched on one thing that I was concerned about, and that was whether we talked to zoning and planning, but apparently that base is being covered.
Yes.
What is the size of these batteries? Because it looks like it's pretty big.
So as Terrence mentioned, each system itself is about 10 to 15,000 square feet, so about a quarter acre, a little bit less than that. All of those areas would be fenced in, and then the units themselves just basically look like storage containers.
Yes.
That kind of size, like a tractor trailer, a little bit smaller than that, and a few of those would be placed on a site. All the batteries are contained within those units themselves.
Mr. Farley?
How do you make your money in this?
So we're a developer, so we'll come in, we'll identify the locations on the existing electrical system where these kinds of batteries might be needed, and we design and permit the batteries, and then ultimately a IPP or independent power producer will likely purchase the system from us and then own and operate it long term. New Leaf Energy doesn't have any technicians or trucks that roll out for the long-term use of these systems. That'll be done by an independent power producer. So we make our money by developing the systems. By developing the systems.
The simpler thing, Mr. Farley, I think, is they buy electricity at night
And then sell
when
it
there's
back.
excess capacity. So that difference, and so the value is there where, again, you can set it up, sell it to somebody else, or operate it.
But what I'm hearing is that you're not going to buy the energy or charge your batteries when it's not peak time and sell them back. That's not your role in this. Your role is to design, to build it, and then sell it to what you refer to as an
IPP, an independent power producer.
Okay, so you don't make your money. You make your money off the design and the construction of it.
Correct. Off of the design, the development, the design, the permitting of the project. Correct.
So
Yes.
I guess my question would be, and this is probably more for the council, would be, with all of the push around the state, there has to be a considerable amount of available funding to do something. So, quite frankly, I guess my thing would be, why would we, if this is something that we could do at a initial maybe upfront cost for ourselves and then own and operate that, then wouldn't that be a way to generate revenue? So why would we pay somebody to do what might be available for us to do and keep and have complete ownership and generate that revenue for ourselves?
So you're speaking about the IPP as opposed, not the developer, but the IPP?
Well, I guess what I'm just kind of, as the entire process, if this is something that where there's state money available to operate this, or maybe there's some grant money available, then I guess I'm thinking, just putting it out there, why would we, should we at least consider, what the upfront cost is to do something like this and what funding is available so we can have a level of ownership instead of paying for something that might increase revenue for us.
Mayor?
And Madam President, we've had more encompassing discussions on this. My position would be that at this point, require the council going into executive session as opposed to discussing it in a public session.
Sure.
I do, did you? I do have a question. You said that initially you would pay $60,000 each for each. You said two, right? And you want $60,000 each per year with a 2.5% escalation clause?
Yes.
Okay. So you also talked about some incentives that might come from NYSERDA. So so there's no increase. Let's say NYSERDA, the increases that what you get from NYSERDA increases considerably more, so that the city does not get more. We stay at the 2.5 regardless of any incentives that you may get. And is there room for, if you get more, we get more?
If I could answer that. The first would be that, yes, we would be paying the city. So this is not a request for funds from the city.
Right.
And from the city's perspective, this is a lease, it's a lease of existing city land, or I guess, I'm not sure I refer to it as surplus land, but some land that is not being utilized. I will make one other note, which is that there is an unused sub-transmission line that goes from the sewer plant directly to the Rosa Road substation, so we would be hooking onto a line that's right there. But to go back to your point, the ups and downs of the energy market and the ups and downs of incentives. So the incentive is a fixed amount that comes at the front of the project to offset the construction, and it's actually on a declining, they call it a megawatt block, so it's a declining megawatt block. You can access it when you have your permits and you've paid 100% of your interconnection fees, and you have essentially your shovel ready to go. Then you can go and submit for that incentive. Right now, it's being incentivized at $175 per kilowatt hour. That when that's used up, it'll go down to $150. So this is why you sense a lot of energy or urgency in the developer world, is because we're all trying to access these incentives as they go down. The other piece that's also a finite thing is the capacity on the actual grid. That's a have to get on the grid and reserve capacity thing. And then they send you they will tell you how much it costs to upgrade, and then you have to actually make payment for those upgrades, a portion of which is non-refundable. And you try to time your permitting and your lease with all of those things. And that's sort of what we do. This is a proposal for city land to lease. The other projects, which are really only a few, are in, again, we're looking at non-residential, away from residential areas and areas that are appropriate for the grid. But I don't know, that provided a little more information. I'm not sure to answer your question or not.
Well, it's really about the increase, whether increase stays flat.
Yes, the lease rate, which again goes to the executive session discussion, I guess, is something we have gone back and forth on, have been pushed to increase, and so there's no agreement on that at this point. There could be, but we would, that's up to the city.
Mr. Toro. Thank you. I just read briefly in that about fires have decreased over the years and they made that's by that. Would our Schenectady Fire Department be able to handle some type of fire over there, or is there anything special chemical that has to go on that?
I'm going to do a quick answer to that, and then I'm going to pass it to Tyler. The first answer is that
part of all the discussion.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
They've been at the meetings. Tyler can answer some of the fire.
Yeah, and part of the permitting process is we bring in fire safety experts that focus specific on these battery storage devices. A lot of them are former FDNY folks, and they'll come in and we'll work directly with the fire department to make sure that they have the tools and resources they need to respond if there was to be some sort of incident, as well as training for them as well to familiarize them with the systems, and also hazard mitigation plans, first responder plans, all that kind of stuff will be part of the permitting of this kind of project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So, did you have more?
I just was going to say, I think you may start to see these projects percolate in the city from other developers. We just appreciate the opportunity to come and introduce ourselves. This proposal that we're talking about may be a good site, and I'm just looking forward to working with the city as these things emerge. Thank you.
Mayor, is there anything more you'd like to add to this?
No, appreciate the council's consideration and move through the process.
Okay.
I'll just say if there are any further questions about this sort of technology, the proposal, or other sites we're looking at, please reach out. Terrence, I forgot the cards. Do you have any cards? I printed those up.
They're over there.
Okay. Well, we can leave.
No, I got them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please reach out if there are any questions or just want discussion.
Okay. If they can leave enough for everyone, just in case.
Oh, yeah, I'll leave some more cards right here.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks. The next item on the agenda is moratorium for health and wellness spas. Mr. Toro.
Oh, yes, thank you. So 2 weeks ago, I had asked for a moratorium, and and the legal department has prepared, as you see in front of you, some changes to code chapter 177, 177-1, which I defer to Mr. O'Brien at this point.
Thank you, Madam President. What I provided to the council was, one, a reference to the existing city code regarding massage parlors. This piece of legislation goes back to the mid-1970s in the city. And then, as we had the discussions last week or 2 weeks ago regarding, how do you define massage parlor, health and wellness center, et cetera, et cetera. So, in looking at our current code and looking at other codes in other places, we believe that the best course of action is actually using our existing code as the definition. And over the years, the council has added other facilities and businesses under the certificate of use ordinance. Previously, there was a bar, cannabis and tobacco retail consumption locations, convenience stores, drugstores, secondhand dealer, restaurants, private clubs, and lodges. Over the years, you've added to that list from the original certificate of use ordinance. What is being proposed is that this massage parlor, as defined already in our code, which accepts out those medical areas and areas that are licensed and people have licenses, to put this into the regulatory framework of the certificate of use. So it's just adding that in, and those requirements that we ask for other types of businesses would apply for this type of business. And the biggest thing is making sure that the individuals there are properly licensed by the state of New York as a massage therapist, a masseuse, and masseur. Those are requirements that are required under the code as well as New York state law. Those are guaranteed. Those are indicators of this is a serious business. If those people have to present that to us as we do review, us being the law department who reviews the certificate of use applications. Amongst, looking at 183-6 and the application for certificate of use that's in our existing code, some of the things that we look for is copies of documentation identifying all owners and operators of business, including passport, driver's license, immigration or citizenship records, tax registration, identification certificates for the business or any owner or operator. Also copies of relevant businesses filings, doing business as or assumed names, LLCs or other certificates of incorporation, providing evidence of liability insurance in an amount not less than $500,000, the identity and address of account and bank accounts for that are going to be utilized in the business. So there's quite a bit of information that we, as a city, request for those certificate of use to indicate the business that gets the certificate of use permit is a legitimate business. So if you're looking to make sure that a particular business, and in this case a massage parlor as defined by the city code, is a legitimate business, has all the wherewithal, and does that, has the licenses that are required by the state as well as our code, this is a way of doing it. If they fail to do that, they can be fined under our city code for up to $500 and up to $1,000, and punishable for 30 days in jail. So the penalties these are under our existing ordinance under the certificate of use. So by putting this type of business as defined previously by the code into our certificate of use ordinance, plus all the requirements that we have already under the certificate of use process, I think those are indicators that this is a serious business, it's a legitimate business. And if they don't have those things, if they don't have those licenses, not only can they be fined under one part of the code under the massage parlor, but also the certificate of use. And if any, as I indicated last week, not to practice this massage as defined both under the state law and under our code, is a violation of New York state law. So it's a Class E felony. So, I mean, there's serious things. In this way, we're not getting into getting into the zoning code where we're talking about moratorium and how to how do you parse out, a gym versus a nail salon versus, a health and wellness center. When you're looking, what you're looking to do here is looking at massage parlors that may not be legitimate. So that, in that way, is that you could have a public hearing to add this to the certificate of use, and then, phase it in without a moratorium, and you would have to have a public hearing, and then you would have when you would want this ordinance to take effect. You could have it take effect immediately, or have a 30-day, education period in between, it being taking effect, sort of like what you did for the speed and zone reduction. You had a 30-day period before it became effective. So that's the overview and what's being proposed based on your discussions last week, 2 weeks ago.
You did read something I want to clarify. You said you were reading from a part of the code, where it talked about passport citizenship and all that.
Exactly.
So what part of the code is that?
That's under the application for certificate of use, 183-6.
All right, because it's not here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can provide that section with you. I mean, that's just, I didn't want to overwhelm you with all the, copies of it, but that's under 183-6, and we can, -6, which goes through the whole details of what certificate of use applicants have to provide.
And that is as it currently stands?
As it currently stands, right now.
All right, thank you.
So my question is, certificate of use right now, it says people have to give us their citizenship status. Right now it says that?
Well, I mean, right now it does, yes. It says here, immigration or citizenship records. It's whatever their status is. It's immigration or citizenship status. And be advised that to have regarding, New York state law, to have a license for this type of facility, you have to be, this is under state law, 7804. Citizenship or immigration status, 7804 sub 5, be a U.S. citizen or non-citizen lawfully admitted for permanent residence in the United States. So those are the requirements the state of New York has for individuals who want to become a professional license.
So that's for an individual who wants to be a massage therapist, whatever the title it is. However, if I as an individual wanted to open it and have these people be in my employ, then I would have to meet the criteria to meet for the certificate of use if I own the business.
If you have the business, you have to provide all that, as
like
well
the
as
citizenship and all that.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Because if you're the owner of the business, you have to have those records. And the idea is, over the years, is to make sure that the businesses are legitimate businesses that are operating in our community.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Farley?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess if someone needs to have a certain citizenship status in order to get the license, then I guess that would mean that we wouldn't have to request that. If the expectation was for
right, I mean, if
the point is that they are licensed or someone in their establishment is licensed, they're already providing that level of, documentation to the state in order to be licensed. So I just think that that's something that we need to be really mindful of, especially what's happening in the country right now with people. We need to be really mindful of that. Maybe that's something that we need to look at as a council, as people's citizenship status, what they need to, and this is for any certificate of use, correct? This is not just for this.
The certificate of use, that requirement that I'll give you a copy of the.
Sure, yeah. My question is that any business that has a certificate of use right now has to show us their citizenship status.
Immigration status and citizenship.
And then, but that goes on to be like kind of somewhat of that is public knowledge, correct?
That's just. What do you mean public knowledge?
So if someone came to the city clerk's office, could they look at the information?
No, I mean, they would have to do a FOIL request, and we would also say that that information is PII type information, so we would also put the individual on notification that somebody's asking for that type of information.
And we wouldn't give them that type of information?
Well, I'm not saying, it all depends who's asking.
So, right, so you can see my point, is that then that's something that we need to consider as a council. We don't want to, I for one don't want to be unintentionally asking questions that could lead to people getting their families broken up.
Yeah, it's 183-6 sub 5. It's copied, it's in our current code. It's copies of documentation identifying all owners and operators of the business, including passport, driver's license, immigration or citizenship records, tax rate, registration, or identification certificates for the business or any owner or operator.
I think we should change that.
So owner operator kind of is the key for me. So we already know that, I guess we've never had this discussion before, so every single business in this city
Not every, just those
that has
listed.
a certificate of use
That's what's required.
has met this.
And I'll let the corporation.
Yes.
So the way that I have with my staff has interpreted that is simply to provide identifying information, which generally is a driver's license or a passport. We don't actively look for immigration records. That, I believe, is simply indicating that immigration records could be an identifying record for a person if, for example, they don't have a driver's license or a passport.
So, question.
Yes, and then Mr. Tar?
Okay, I'll defer.
Go, Mr. Tar.
That's okay, you're probably on the
Okay.
same subject. I'm going somewhere different.
All right. So I guess my question is, and not having it in front of me right now, the question is, is that the list that you're reading, is that you must, I understand, thank you, Ms. Ross, that the practice is that you use that for identification. It's just one thing that somebody can identify. I appreciate that. I guess, does the policy say that they need to identify that as so we want to be really clear that, is it that I need to provide my immigration status, or is that just something that is that a list of, when you go to DMV and you're trying to renew something, is that a list of what you can provide, which should be satisfactory, or is the language in the code saying that they must do that? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Farley, yeah, it's an example of what someone can provide. So they perhaps could provide a green card or something like that, I think is what, at least is how we're interpreting it in our office since I've started.
But I see the interpret, and I appreciate that practice. I'm talking about, does the policy, does it explicitly say that this is something? That's what I'm trying to say.
The ordinance is clear.
So does
What is that? That's what the ordinance says.
What is it? Can you read it again?
Yeah, it says copies of documentation identifying all owners and operators of the business, including passport, driver's license, immigration, or citizenship records.
So therefore, even though, that was my point, so even though the practice is that, which I think is a good practice, Ms. Brosh, shout out to you for that, but the policy...
the ordinance says what it says.
It says what it says, correct. So yeah, I think we should change that ordinance.
So it's similar to DMV, as referred to. Within DMV, they say you must have this many documents or. So is it spelled out like that?
No.
It says you gotta have it.
No. So let's getting back to, the massage parlor aspect. The idea of that was proposed was that they would use that ordinance that's already in there, and the massage parlor is already defined, massage is defined, it makes cross references to the New York State education law, that is still good, so therefore it would be within that ambit of doing it, and being, and regarding, massage parlors, the fear is, human trafficking, and that's what the public purpose of this particular ordinance is. And I think one of the, in looking at the public, that public purpose that's indicated in the ordinance is to prevent that is one of the tools is the citizenship and immigration status of an individual. And as you know from that that's one of the indicators of whether or not this this business is legitimate or not legitimate, or properly licensed by the state of New York or not properly licensed. And it's indicating that the state of New York is indicating in their licensing the status that they require for somebody to be a licensed masseur or massage therapist, masseuse in the state of New York.
Okay.
So regarding this particular aspect of the ordinance, if you want to do a public hearing on that, I would suggest, I know your next your next city council meeting is going to be October 14th, where your public hearing is on the budget. You may want to then put this public hearing, if you want to go forward with the draft ordinance, for the 27th or the 27th of October for the public hearing on that, and that will give you one more city council committee session before then to take a look at this, so at least you can move it forward with the draft ordinance, the draft ordinance of adding that to the certificate of use, as well as adding the definition to the zoning code. And since you're adding just the definition to the zoning code, you don't have to go through a whole referral to the City Planning Commission.
Mr. Toro?
Thank you for all the research and the work you did on this. I guess massage parlor, any establishment or business by whatever name called. So I guess
Whatever name called, that's a blanket.
right. So I guess my whole thing is I see spa all the time in red lights, spa and wellness center. So would that definitely be something that would help me out here a little bit?
Yeah, I think that the drafters of this ordinance back in the 70s was mindful of that. These businesses could go by other names.
Okay.
And I think by doing that, they're not getting into like I said earlier, very difficult, how do you define, a gym is a gym, and a wellness center and this. I think when they use that language, by, whatever it's called, but if massages are going on, you're a massage parlor. And that's, you're falling within the regulatory framework of the city code.
Thank you. And just to follow up with, so would it be businesses that are currently out there now would have to, or is it moving forward?
No, it would be,
okay.
This is not like the zoning code where we had to, this is where we're zoning areas, like the vape shops, for example. We're moving vape shops to different areas, and then we had a moratorium, and then there was a year grace period for them to apply to the zoning board of appeals to get a hardship, so, it wasn't a regulatory taking. This is simply a licensing procedure.
Okay.
And like I said, you can have a 30-day, education before you start citing them for violations of the code.
I'm very happy with what you presented.
So, it's on the table now is to, as it's written before us, is to move forward to change the city code to put under 183-3 to include massage parlor under there. That's what's on there now.
And to add the definition to the zoning code.
And add a definition to the zoning code. To your point, Mr. Farley, that the piece of the code that you're talking about is something that we'd have to bring separately to take a look at.
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. I understand that. I was just saying I'm not comfortable asking anyone to do that until we take a look at that during the current climate.
So right now, we would move forward with, if everyone, unless there's something more, we would move forward with just putting this on for a public hearing on the 27th. You're recommending we call the public hearing
What
on
I'm
the 27th?
recommending is that you vote out a committee tonight, calling for a public hearing on October 27th regarding those proposed amendments. And like I said, there's another council committee period in between now and then, so you can go through it, but at least you're moving the process forward as far as calling the public hearing on this and moving the ordinance.
All right. So I need a motion to call for a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So the public hearing will be held on the 27th of October. The next item is a ceremonial resolution recognizing Schenectady Business and Professional Women's Club Woman of the Year, Christina Watson-Meyer. We did this last year for the person and for the last year's winner, and so I'd like to be able to have a resolution to be presented at their event, which will be October 17th. Any questions?
No, I'm happy to move this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next, item number 6 is a ceremonial resolution recognizing October as Italian Heritage Month. Mr. Toro.
Thank you. So every year we put this out there in recognition of the Italian immigrants who came to the city, like so many immigrants at the time. And I would like to present it at the Gabriel D'Annunzio Sons and Daughters of America Columbus Day dinner on October 10th.
Any questions?
I move this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 7 is a ceremonial resolution recognizing October as Polish American Heritage Month. Ms. Patrick.
Yes, I'm putting this forward. There's also the 5K pierogi run is happening on October 18th, so we are to, it's a similar kind of thing where we're recognizing the contributions of Polish Americans in our community, and they would be coming to us on October 14th to accept this if it moves out of, if we pass it.
Any questions or concerns?
I'll move this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I would, before we go into the items that would be executive session, I would like to bring forward, I'm sorry, I just found out on Sunday, another ceremonial resolution for this month. It'll be on the 27th, is a suicide awareness being held in Central Park. So in order to get there in time, I would like to be able to provide a ceremonial resolution for that. Any concerns?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The final items, 8 through 12, are items that would be to discuss in executive session. So I ask for a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in recess.
I'd like to call to order the Claims Committee. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. As to my knowledge, all 3 need to be discussed in executive session. So may I have a motion? I will second. All those in favor? Aye. We're now in executive session.
Members of the public will have to leave.